You're listening to Real Facts on Real Estate with Sean Patrick Maloney.
That sounds good.
Welcome to episode 15, Becoming a Winning Buyer's Agent. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me this week. Look forward to talking to you about becoming a winning buyer's agent. Being a buyer's agent is a great job. A lot of people don't realize one of the best parts of being a buyer's agent is we cost nothing to the client typically. Most always we're working under pay from the seller, not the buyer. Sometimes you end up getting paid by the buyer, but we can talk about that later in buyer agency agreement forms, things like that. But typically, most often, it's listed on the MLS system what we're going to be getting paid, and it's listed by the seller. Usually during the process of getting a listing, we put in compensation for the buyer agent side, and it ranges and varies in prices. Sometimes you can actually put into your buyer's agency agreement that you get paid a certain percentage to guarantee your pay, but for now, let's just pretend like it's always paid by the seller side for the ease of talking about this subject. So one of the first things you always get for a question when you're a buyer's agent, you're running lead ads or you're buying leads through online websites or you're meeting with random clients is, are you the list agent? And this is one where people always have trouble. They always say, oh, no, I'm not the list agent. Or they run into an issue with it and they end up basically fumbling and bumbling and dropping the lead. One of the first things you want to learn to do is gain confidence in what a buyer's agent is. So when someone asks you, are you the list agent, you want to come right back at them with no. As a matter of fact, I'm not. And the reason that you don't want to be speaking with the list agent is that the list agent represents the seller in the seller's best interest. And then you can go right into your spiel about what agency is and why they should have representation. This actually makes it easier in the long run to even go over your agency disclosure form and continue forward with the whole entire process seamlessly. So when you're talking with them, you can explain all the fiduciary agreements that you have, the right to confidence, loyalty, obedience, non-disclosure, all the different old car benefits that they get. Old car is an acronym for the different benefits that they get. As you know, as an agent, it's really, really important to have representation. So this is a great opportunity when they ask, are you the list agent? Not to just answer the simple word no. When you say no, they say, okay, well then I'll call the list agent. But when you explain it properly and you explain if you were to talk to the list agent, their job is to get the seller the most money. My job is to get you the home for the least money possible, for the best terms possible, and to work within your guidance, and also that I'm going to be a true fiduciary for you, and that I'm not going to share any unknown information that's going to impair your ability to buy the home or your ability to buy the home for more money. I'm going to keep that all in confidence with you. I'm going to work together with you to get you the home for the best terms available for you. The next one you want to talk about, and we've kind of alluded to it, but who pays you? That's a very common question on a buyer's agent is who's going to pay this? I've heard of closing costs. I've heard of the cost that it's going to be for my down payment. I've heard of all these, but who's going to pay you? Because I've already figured it all out and I can only afford my down payment and my closing costs. So I'm just going to go to the list agent. I hear that all the time. They don't understand they end up paying dual agency and they're going to pay the same commission because it's already listed in within the seller. So now, of course, we have situations where we have a for sale by owner or we have an off-market listing, or a lot of different situations like that where you do have to figure out who pays you. So the who pays you one, typically we can answer very easily by saying that we're paid through the sellers. At the end, during the closing disclosure, you'll see it listed there. The commission is actually split between the seller's agent, the buyer's agent, and they're going to pay my commission. But also be prepared that if you really want to do a good job and you want to show them everything, not just on the market of MLS, but everything, for sale by owners and also off markets as well as ones that maybe a construction company or someone else has, then that's when you might have to actually get into a buyer's agency agreement form. A buyer's agency agreement is going to line out everything that you're going to do as a buyer's agent for your buyers and what it's going to cost them. Depending on the company and depending on the form, like the one that we use here at Movementum Realty, because we are a non-realtor form, we do have all our own forms and agreements. Our agreement lists out each type of property. We have the for sale by owners, we have the off markets, we have the builder package ones, we have land, we have each individual type of property listed out, and we have compensation listed for each. So based on the compensation that you're looking to take, depending on what your brokerage bills as far as commission percentages and what your broker would like you to bill, then that's where you're going to put that in and make sure you get paid. So that question there, who's going to pay you? Sometimes it's going to be the seller. But like I said, if you're working with a buyer and you're really trying to show them the entire marketplace, you may need to explain to them that if they want to look at for sale by owners and some of the off-market stuff, that they in fact may pay you. The defense to this is always going to be, well, how am I going to pay you? One of the things you want to go over with them is that you're actually going to save them money by negotiating better terms for them, and that the cost of you is actually going to be not an actual cost, but a cost savings. And by doing this, you're going to alleviate some of their feeling of how you're actually going to get paid and how it's going to be structured into the deal. The next one down right away all the time has to do with what parents and other guidance people are telling them is the buyers are going to meet with you and they're going to say, I'm not signing anything. So depending on the brokerage you work at, some brokerages require that you sign a buyer's agency agreement form. Other agencies do not. I don't require that. I suggest it, but I suggest that you build the relationship before even asking them to sign. It depends on the people and how you work and what your agreement is. I'm a handshake agreement type of person, but working in a buyer's agency agreement form, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. It actually protects your interest to make sure that you get paid, whether they buy through you or they decide to go behind your back and buy through somebody else. I've yet to see anybody or meet anybody that has had a lawsuit where they got paid in the future. I wouldn't even want to be a part of it, so I'm not sure how that works out in the long run. But with the not signing anything, you obviously have to get your agency disclosure form signed by them. If they're not willing to sign that, you can just check it off at the bottom. But again, that's another one that comes down to the agency disclosure form really is about confidence. If you hand the form over to your client and you say, oh geez, the state makes us sign this at the first meeting, if you would, I hope, please, maybe. If you don't want to, you can check off the bottom. I understand it's a lot to ask. That doesn't represent nearly as well as when you meet with somebody right at the beginning and you say, hey, we have one thing I want to take off right at the beginning. The state requires that we show you this agency disclosure form. Have you seen one before? If they say yes, you say, would you like me to explain the entire form, or would you just like to sign here? Again, we're already insinuating you're going to be signing. Would you like me to explain it to sign it, or would you just like to sign it and get it out of the way? Then if they would like you to explain it, you go down each form of agency, go over what they are, go over the different options they have, and then have them sign it. Never ever go at it like tentatively, like, oh, if you maybe would kind of possibly do it. I always tell people and compare this one to a dog. When you go to pet a dog, if you end up giving it a timid hand, does it want to bite you or does it want to be pet by you? It wants to bite you and get away from you because it thinks to itself, if you're afraid of me, then I should be afraid of you. Same thing goes on with buyers. If you're not acting like a professional and showing them that you're leading the way and that you know what you're doing and that we are signing this form, there's really no other option to signing this form, it will go over much smoother and they'll feel that you're professional. One thing I always like to remind people is if you don't represent that form on the first meeting because you decide that that's the best way and you're going to do it in the future, realize that you're lacking professionalism and that chances are if these people have looked at any other property ever before in life, they've already seen one of these forms, and if they met with an agent like myself who explains that it has to be done at the first meeting, then they think you're a liar and they think, why didn't this person represent the form that should have been here at the very beginning? So keep that in mind and never think that you're saving anybody by not doing your professional job of showing that agency disclosure form at the beginning. State mandates it, so do it. One of the next things down that is commonly asked when we get these calls is that house available? This is one of the ones where you don't want to lie to them, you don't want to do anything different to them, but you want to take your time in telling them if it's not available that it's not available. You want to go in and start diving into the details of what exactly they're looking for and what other homes would work and did they see anything else that worked. And unfortunately, maybe this one has an offer in, but don't be that agent that doesn't like to show for backup offers. It's amazing to me how many agents see that there's an accepted offer on a property and they, quote, don't want to waste their time going to show for a backup offer. I've actually landed a house recently, as recent as less than 12 months ago. We were third in line, and we actually own the house today. Me and my buyers are able to make it to the end line, and it's because the first buyer flunked out and the second buyer found something else. So us, the third buyer, got the house, and we got the house for tens of thousands of dollars less than we were expecting to pay for it, which ultimately made my buyers unbelievably happy with me and happy with the overall results. So when you're getting this is the house available question, of course, if it's a purchase and sale agreement, it's probably not going to come out. But why not still show the house if the agent's willing so that you can establish value? If you found a house that you like and it's under agreement and it's already there, that's going to tell you, okay, this house is worth the money. So seeing the home can help you build out the search. One of the biggest things that I notice that agents are doing all the time is protecting their time. Don't get me wrong, we don't want to be out there wasting a ton of time, but when you're protecting your time, when you're supposed to be working with a client, it easily shows to them that you just don't want to be out with them, and that all you really want is to just close a deal, which isn't going to build a relationship. And with buyers, it's all about building relationships. I shouldn't even just say with buyers and sellers, it's all about building that relationship. So you want to really work on making sure that when they want to go out and see something, you get out there and see it, especially if you've never met. If you've never met, you really want to get out there as soon as possible and get them in front of you so you can teach them why you are a professional and how you're going to work with them and how dedicated to their cause that you are. One of the tougher questions when you're a newer agent, or any agent really, is when people ask about your record. People will ask you questions like, how many homes have you sold? How many homes have you bought with buyers? How many buyers do you work with at once? All sorts of questions like that. So if you're newer, this is going to be a difficult question, but you got to remember, you don't always have to leverage off yourself. You can leverage off of other agents in your office. You can leverage off of your office. You can talk about the fact that even though you have nothing going on, guess what that means? It means that I'm 100% available to you. See, with all the good comes bad and bad comes good. You can talk about how an agent who has 10 or 20 buyers is not going to have the dedication level that you, who only has the one buyer, is going to have. Think about that. If you can give the person 100% of your time, isn't that better than someone who's only giving them 10% or 5% of the time? And just make it known that you take your job very serious, and make it known that you do a lot of continued education, that you listen to podcasts like this one here and actually constantly are looking to learn, that you're putting your best foot forward at every corner, and that you're there to prove it, and that their review and their referral in the future, it's the foundation to your business. And that's how serious it is to you, that you are the foundation of my future business. So please work with me. I'm going to serve you well. And most often, if you work with a brokerage where you have a broker on site or you have another power agent in the company, you can then bring them with you and have them go to the meeting with you to just leverage off of them a little bit. The big thing to remember of statistics is sometimes you can talk about your own statistics, and other times you can talk about market data, and then other times you can talk about the offices. So sometimes you can defer over to talking about how powerful a buyer market is over in a certain area, or you can talk about how many houses in inventory. So just remember, try to control the situation, but also never tell lies. Never say that you did something that you didn't do, because just like baseball players or any other sports players, the statistics kept on us, and it's not very hard to get at them. Most of them are public record and available right online, including your Zillow profile, your MLS system, and everything like that. Just a little quick side note, if you're not keeping up your Zillow profile, on Zillow you need to claim every sale you've done. Then that means that your buyers and sellers are going on there and seeing that you have no sales. So make sure you run over there and claim all your sales. I can't believe how many agents I see that don't keep up their record there. If you know anything about people, they do research about us. And if they type in your name and they type in real estate, guess which one of the profiles shows up very high in the profile ranking? The Zillow one. And chances are they might even just go on Zillow Agent Finder and check it out there, considering they're using that app to find property. So make sure always to go in and claim your listings, claim your sales, and also update your profile as it goes. Next is that I want to go over is we're going to go over some of the things that you can do while you're working with buyers. So we went over a lot of the questions and stuff, but now let's talk about what we want to be talking to them about as an agent. So one of the first ones is why to work with you. Everyone's going to have a different unique sales proposition, but you really want to go over all the things that are special about you. One of the things that I always tell people is one of the best parts of working with me as an agent is that you can get in touch with me 24 hours a day, and that now that you have my cell phone number, I can work with you on all properties. Not just one property, but any property you can find, I'm willing to work with you on it. So that's something that I always make sure I go over with everybody. That way I'm not reading about them buying or selling through somebody else, and that they realize I will work with them on everything, and that I'm available 24 hours a day. Everybody has the unique hours that they need to work, but in real estate, I can tell you, if you want to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, get a different job. Because really, the reality is, most of the time, I get texted at nighttime and on weekends, and I respond back quickly. This is another thing that you want to keep up. If you tell somebody why to work with you, that you're easy to get in touch with, then you really want to be easy to get in touch with. The next one down is make sure you build confidence. Build their confidence up by giving them dates and deadlines and fulfilling them. So if they ask for a piece of information, and you don't have it right on you, say, I'll call you back in 20 minutes, and then in 20 minutes call them back, whether you have the information or not, and just make them know that you're going to do what you say. If you say you're going to meet them at the house, then meet them at the house, but be there 15 minutes early so they know. This person isn't somebody that I'm waiting for in front of a house that I've never met before, and I'm wondering, should I text them or are they going to show up, and then they show up 5 minutes late and blame traffic. We can all blame whatever we want to blame, but being late is being late. No matter what you say, no matter, oh, it's my kids or whatever, it means you don't value other people's time as much as you value your own, and that's why you're late. Yes, there's those one-offs that actually happen, but you need to be honest with yourself and look in the mirror. Did it actually happen, or are you making it up? The next one down is never deny the showing. So sometimes people will say, do you have a pre-approval or not? And the person says no, and they refuse to show them the home. Never refuse to show them the home. That's really a silly way to start it off. Of course, you don't want to go out and show somebody homes for years without a pre-approval, but upon the first meeting, there's no reason that you can't get out there, meet with them, check out how everything's going, and then once you have them as a captivated audience, you can talk to them about the pre-approval and the pre-approval process and say to them, do you know if you had liked this home today and you had wanted to make an offer that we wouldn't have been able to make an offer because you don't have a pre-approval at this point? So that way there you can actually tell them why, how, and where to get a pre-approval. And then you should have at least 3 lenders that are on your preferred lender list, and you say, would you like me to set you up with one of the lenders? Don't ever leave it to them that they're going to reach out to the lender. Set them up with the lenders and have the lenders reach out to them if they're willing to let you. Because if you leave it to them, they're always going to continue to wait, and it's going to make your process very slow, and you're going to be waiting all the time for people that never reach out for the pre-approval and never take their foot and put it on the gas and get it into drive. You really want to make sure you're pushing your own deals along. I know a lot of agents say, well, I'm not going to waste my time with that type of thing. I can tell you that you're probably not going to do nearly as many deals, because getting the pre-approval and helping the person get the pre-approval is how you become the guy who got them the money, or the woman who got them the money, which means that they're going to work with you because they feel almost in debt to you, and the fact that you helped them with the process of getting something that they were intimidated to get. And realize that there's a ton of buyers out there that have already denied their own loan, even though they haven't gone out and checked out what would go on for their pre-approval. So realize that helping them get into that pre-approval and helping them meet the right lender or the right investor or the right bank is really going to get it done. I mean, I had a guy recently who really wanted a condo. We ended up going through 7 different banks and lenders, and we ended up being able to find a portfolio lend, and we're actually doing that deal today. The only reason we're doing that deal today was my perseverance as a buyer's agent and willingness to work to get him the money and to make sure that we were doing everything we could to make him move into that home, which in the long run I can tell you that's going to end up leading to a great review and a lot of referrals, because I know that this gentleman as well as the sellers were very thankful for the fact that I went the extra mile to get the funding to be able to make the deal happen for the both of them. So realize that this isn't part of our job to get the pre-approval as far as getting the physical pre-approval, but it is part of our job as far as being a fiduciary and working for our clients and trying to work for their best interests, and also making them realize that not all pre-approvals are the same. And the fact of the matter is that you want to help them get the best pre-approval, to get them the best terms, to make them have the best money available to purchase the house. Next one I want to talk about is why meeting in person. So meeting in person is so much more powerful. Everybody now hides behind computers and texts and emails, and they think that that's creating a relationship. And I can tell you that it's a lot easier to just simply not answer a text or email than it is when you meet in person to not answer any question. When you're in person, you don't have to press them hard, but you can ask a lot of those hard questions. And unless they just literally want to give you the silent treatment to face, they're going to say something. And even if it's just the body language, you're going to learn a lot about the person during that time, which is going to build trust, and it's going to move you into the referral category. Obviously, in business, we're always worried about creating new customers. We spend a lot of money on leads, but the reality is we leave a lot of leads out there in the open by not building trust in these referrals. So make sure you're doing all the work in order to build that trust, in order to have the client give you those referrals. One of the next things I want to talk about while you're in with a client is doing your discovery questions, finding out what are their needs. Do they need a garage, or do they want a garage? Do they need a pool, or do they want a pool? And when you're doing this, you're finding out everything they need or want and realizing that it may be easier to sell them a house with a big piece of land if their budget's small, and that they can build a garage in the future, or that they could put the pool in there in the future. Obviously, don't answer questions about what can be put into an area. They do have to talk to town hall and get proper permitting and everything, but it's easy to see that some lots are going to be available for what they want and some aren't. But one of the things that I learned, that I really enjoyed, that I learned about sales, is be careful not to sell features that somebody does not want. So one of the things that goes on in sales is all the time, you go to a car dealership, you go to a real estate agent, whoever it is, they want to talk about the AC, they want to talk about the power windows, they want to talk about the whatever the features are of the home. Realize sometimes by selling certain features that tells the person that they could save money by buying something without that in it because they don't need it. So listen in the discovery to what they want and highlight the features that they do want. It's not a bad thing to let them know that some of the other features exist, but when you over talk about certain things that they're not looking to have, or say you talk about brand new kitchen, brand new everything, but the person told you that they wanted to gut a place and make it their own. I can tell you, even working with my mom, we looked at a house and she didn't like it because the kitchen was too nice. And it's like, what? Well, she didn't like it because the kitchen was too nice, but it wasn't the right color. And she felt bad throwing away a $40,000 kitchen to put in another $40,000 kitchen. So she wanted something that had lesser kitchen. In her mind, she was going to be able to get the other house for cheaper because the kitchen wasn't updated. So why would she pay that much more to have an updated kitchen just to rip it out? So by doing these discovery questions and listening, you can save yourself a lot of backpedaling when you're trying to explain why they should rip out a brand new kitchen and install the new kitchen that they already told you that they wanted, and they were very specific that it needed to be white countertops and the current countertops are black. So this is something that we all do as agents because we're always wanting to talk about the best things about the entire house. So just keep that in mind. I know it's a bit strange to think about, but do that. When you're doing that, this is something my father taught me. You have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth, so use them accordingly. And what he meant by it is, when you're a salesperson and you're doing a good job, you want to look and you want to listen more often than you talk. You want to allow your buyers to tell you what they want. You want to allow your buyers to tell you why they want it, how they want it, where they want it. And then you're going to align them with the one that they do want. Remember, in real estate sales, even though we're called salespersons, even though we're called brokers and agents, the reality is we're basically a dating agency. We have a whole bunch of prospects, and we have the prospect that we're trying to align. We are not selling people houses. We're aligning them with the house of their future. So when you're aligning somebody with the right one, it takes listening and learning what they want so that you can work for them and not for yourself. Do not look to inject your own opinions into it. One of the strongest ways to think about this is when you go down to Lowe's or Home Depot and you look at the wall where all the different color paints are. I imagine in your head sometimes you look and you say, wow, that's a really dumb color. Who would paint their house that color? Well, I'm going to tell you, in order for Lowe's or Home Depot to put it on the wall, thousands of people would do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be up on that color wall. So the next time you're thinking that, keep your mouth shut while you're at a house. You don't have to worry about the train tracks that are apparently across the street. Unless your buyer said to you, I do not want to live near train tracks, why are you bringing it up? You're only destroying your own sales. You're not saving anybody. For all you know, they could have moved from over where the green line ran level with their home, 3.5 feet off their window, and those train tracks are a mile away in their mind because they're across the street. And so don't ever think you're saving anybody from the apparent things in the world. Of course, you need to be a fiduciary, and you need to protect that young couple or that older buyer that doesn't know that the house has fallen down and they really should listen to the home inspector and that they can't afford to fix it. But when you're there with somebody and you think that you're protecting them from noise, or do you know power lines get you sick, or do you know all these other wives' tales or myths that people keep bringing up, you're only going to be that person that wonders, why do I show so many buyers homes but none of them are willing to commit? Again, you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them accordingly. I hope this helps you with your sales. I hope this helps you become a closer instead of a shower, and get out there and show some property this weekend. Have a great week. I look forward to talking to you next week. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. Feel free to text me, email me, or message me here. Make sure to follow our podcast, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.